Welcome to the Rabia and Sana Show. We're two Desi girls reinventing cultural norms with love to make difficult conversations easier to help you take courageous steps faster.
Whether you feel like a misfit now or have been breaking the standards, this podcast is for you, for the adults, the young. Come as you be and become your authentic self as you desire. Let's go reinvent some cultural norms together.
Hello everyone, I am Rabia Paracha. I have been a rebel without a cause for most of my life until I discovered my purpose to empower women to empower themselves. And that led me down a rabbit hole to become a life coach from CTI Coactive Coaching. And today I'm a mind and life power coach who helps people break free of their limiting cultural beliefs to find the life they love and the love of their life.
Hello everyone, I am Sana. I am from New Jersey, a Pakistani American. Professionally, I work in the clinical research field. And personally, I have always had this purpose of empowering women of South Asian culture to be able to live the life that they want to live and be true to themselves instead of what the culture expects them to be. And so here I am pursuing that purpose, and I am also studying to become a life coach. Let's get started.
Hi, Sana.
Hi, Rabia.
This is a special show today for what's going on in the world, but mostly to show our support for the innocent lives, casualties, collateral damage. We just wanted to say our thoughts on it because this is important to us.
Yeah, and so I am just personally very, very devastated by the events that have happened in the last, 32, 33 days and continue to happen. The amount of lives lost, innocent lives lost, of course, starting from the attack on October 7th. And then since then, it's like my Instagram, I cannot not watch, and I cannot watch also, and it's just so much sadness, so much the pain that we see and the lives that have been lost and the way and the number of children who died is just devastating.
Yeah, I've been following this since day one.
Yeah.
And I was obsessed with what was going on. It all took us by surprise. And I was devastated, to be honest with you. And my family and I, that's all we did. We just talked about what's going on. And it caught us off guard. And B, for me, it was a huge disappointment. We talk about humanity. We talk about supporting the victims or the innocent people. And here we are in this war where the very things that I thought progress was made, the very place I thought progress was made, it just showed me how much more work humanity needs. And I was devastated.
Me too. I feel like this was a wake-up call for me too. I was really on my own path of like peace and oh my God, I'm gonna spread this message of love and humanity and make a difference. And I realized how much divided we are and how much hate a lot of us have inside of us. And I think I have woken up to reality. Like I need to live in the reality and not be in my own world where I think that there's so much love and peace going around and that our work is even more important.
Right. But I do think there's great sadness in what's happening, but I am also very proud of all the people that are showing, millions of people in England, like 1 million people did, to support or to support Palestinians because of the genocide living through, about the apartheid, about occupation. Can you imagine if someone like we talk about love and peace, like you're saying, and we talk about our problems, but can you imagine this happens to us in our home? If it was happening to us in our country, where people are throwing you out of your own homes or, bombing and putting fire to hospitals where children are. It doesn't matter which side you're on. That act is just awful.
It's
It's
wrong.
inhumane.
It's absolutely, absolutely inhumane. You're right. And it's not about religion. It's not about country. It's not about who's right or who's wrong. It's about what you are doing and the way you are doing it. And what is the result coming out of it? And on top of that, it's not getting stopped. And so trying to find peace with my family and my friends and losing hope in, like, God, how can God let this happen? And, these type of thoughts are natural. And my family is very religious, and I would just say to my sister, like, why is this happening, right? Why is God doing this to these poor children, these poor innocent souls? What did they do to deserve this? And I think we all are probably getting these thoughts.
We are, and I actually was just talking to a friend, and she and I have been very actively trying to find ways of bringing some sort of justice for Palestine. Because to be displaced for 78 years, and we talked about the history for before that,
Yeah.
that area has always been under some sort of displacement.
Yeah.
And I think that this is right now is a time about people versus power.
I agree.
And people, I think, are very powerful. Our voices are very powerful. I follow on Instagram Amnesty International, the UN, all the bodies that govern how humanitarian work should be done, or what is humanitarian reasons, what are human rights.
Yeah.
And I stand with the humanitarians. I stand with human beings. And I think that this war is actually anyone who's a human, who has a heart, who has been an activist for any cause, who claim themselves to be empaths,
Mm-hmm.
who have lived through these movements like the Black Lives Matter, who has survived a Holocaust or are, families of Holocaust survivors who have, been a voice for human rights,
Yeah.
women's rights, not just human rights, women rights.
Yeah.
I think all those voices need to stand up for this cause because there's no difference. Why do we have to pick
Absolutely.
lives?
Absolutely. Why? Is it because their lives don't matter? Where are these people? Why aren't they speaking up? They were speaking up before. Why is it that this particular cause or these particular lives do not matter for them to speak up? And what are they so scared of? And I think you're right about the people versus power, because I think, it's hard to see the light in everything, but the light that I can see is the way the people have woken up and come out and spoken up for what's right. I think never before in history we have seen this, and people are actually doing research on finding about the history of these two countries fighting with each other, and we would not have seen people actually do these things if all of this hasn't happened. And we're also seeing, like, the propaganda, and we're seeing the people in power and how they are not talking, and why aren't they talking, right? We would not have questioned these things before. Even for me, I wasn't really questioning the people in power before, but now we can see that why are they taking sides, and why are they not standing up for the inhumanity?
I think that I completely agree with you. Why are they not standing up for humanity? My beef, my problem is that when you support genocide, like when you pick sides, you're supporting and making one life less valuable than another.
Yeah.
And that's just
That's wrong. Because these
wrong.
same people were saying something else when there was a different war. When there was a Ukraine war, the people in power were saying something different. So the double standard is very, very clear now.
Exactly. And I think there's a lot of, I was watching a movie last night, and there's been a lot of misinformation.
Yes.
And we're experiencing so much censorship right now that people are scared to speak.
Yeah.
And I think that is not democracy.
Absolutely.
and to pass bills and laws for for uh for motivated by hate and by you know by not the right things. I don't want to say, or maybe we do want to spill the chai on this as well. um, motivated by money, by power, by whatever. I don't even understand
So
this right
wrong.
now.
It's so wrong. I know. And we thought all these years our ancestors have done wars and the rallies and the fights and slavery and all these things that have happened throughout history, right? Women's rights. And we thought we finally were at the level where we could have democracy. But I feel like it just was hidden, you know? We just couldn't see it straight up, but it was always happening in the background.
Right. And what the point that I really um struggle with is when we talk about ceasefire, they are justifying continuing the war because by pointing fingers at, the other side, at
Yeah,
Hamas, for
yeah,
example.
yeah,
And like if Hamas is using human beings as human shields and you know it,
yeah,
and you're saying they're using human beings as human shields, then why are you killing innocent people? Why are
exactly.
you buying into their crap and
Yeah,
and using the same lives that, whatever, what they're doing? So why are you doing it? To
yeah.
make them
Uh,
happy? And I thought this was the whole point, was not to do that.
yeah, it just doesn't make sense. This is the strategy. It just doesn't make any sense. And bombing the entire city out, bombing the entire country out aimlessly. What happened to the hostages? What if the hostages got bombed in it? I don't see any kind of efforts going on to save the hostages, or we have not seen a strategy plan out on how are they going to wipe out the terrorist organization. And the fact that really, really bothers me is that the war crimes, right? The straight up war crimes that are happening. How come the international law cannot do anything about it? Why can't anyone say no to the Israeli government? I just don't understand.
Well, that's the whole thing. Everyone, I want to invite you all to check out a movie. I watched it last night. It's called The Occupation of the American Mind.
Mm. Where's that?
I will put it on the Rabia and Sana show
Okay.
link tree. Check out our bio there. It
Okay.
is a free movie. It is something that we all must watch because sadly, you brought up a very strong and good word, propaganda. And propaganda is, media is censorship. We only present what we want to present. And I
Yeah.
think that we have to see both sides of the stories. We have to educate ourselves. We are not educated enough to have an informed conversation. We're very emotional right now because of what's happening to the Palestinians. And mind you, the Palestinians are not all Muslims. There are
Yeah.
Christian Palestinians. There are Jewish Palestinians, right? They're living in those lands. And so this war is definitely not about Muslims, and it's not about Muslims and Christians or Muslims and Jews. It's about all people. And there's so much hate.
There is
Jewish
so
people
much
hate Muslim people. Muslim people hate Jewish people. White people hate black people. Black people hate white people. People hate America. People hate Canadians. People hate this. People hate that. So how do we save the people is the question. And that's where we want to, ultimately those innocent children, those innocent women, the people who were in the hospital because they were ill and setting them ablaze and killing them. It just makes no sense, and it's really hurtful.
It's a war crime. It's an absolute war crime. There is absolutely no reason to bomb a hospital. And you're saying there's Christians and other religions in Palestine. There is UNICEF employees there as well, and there's doctors from other countries and all over the world over there who have loss of lives. There was a recent article that 100 UNICEF employees have been killed in this bombing. And so it's not about religion or humanity. It's about ethnic cleansing, and it's about clearing that area out. And it's become very, very clear. And I think the people who have a platform right now, the celebrities or anyone out there who has a platform, and some of them have used it to spread the propaganda. And I think we are in a time that is so, so important right now. This is like evolution happening, history happening, and we have social media. And all of us, the message that I want to give to everyone in this episode is to use your voice. Like you're saying, people have the power too. We have power, and we can now see, thanks to social media, we can actually all now see live truth instead of believing the propaganda.
Mm-hmm. I've always been someone who supports the underdog. My whole life, I've always been that person where if there are 10 people standing up on one side and there's one person standing up alone, I've always supported the underdog. But today, the people are for Palestine. The numbers, Palestine's not alone. Just sadly, this is a battle between humanity and power. And if anyone has faith in humanity, humanity is God, in my opinion. And I think humanity is waking up. The heroes right now are the Palestinians.
Yes, they are.
And we have to stand with them.
Yeah. And there was this quote by a Palestinian posted online, and he said, "This wasn't a test for us. This was a test for the rest of the world."
Yep. Exactly. That's a beautiful quote. And this is a test for us to wake up and use our voice.
Yes.
And use social media and not be afraid of power.
Yes. Even though, there have been consequences happening, right? Like people have lost their contracts with companies, a few people have lost their jobs, and things like that are coming out. But I think collectively, if we all keep doing it, how many of us are they going to get quiet? And we are to speak for those who have lost their jobs, like the congressman in the US, just because she said from the river to the sea, right, they censored her, right? And even though there has been other congressmen who have said, let's bomb Gaza to turn it into a parking lot, and there was no censorship of that person. And so I think we continue to speak collectively, and there will be so many voices that they won't be able to shut it down. And don't be afraid of the consequences. And I have been posting on my social media, and so many of my American friends have said, wow, if I wasn't seeing your post, I would not have known that this was happening, because they're not getting the same feed as us, right? Because it's all algorithm. And so they're not getting those images. So they're believing the regular news that they're watching, the propaganda, and that is something totally different.
Right. And I think like back to propaganda, it's one-sided news is not the truth.
Yeah.
And, we're using our small platform, our podcast, to shed some light on this topic of injustice.
Yeah.
And there is no justice, there is no humanity unless if the people of Palestine are free.
Yeah. Exactly. And even when all this didn't happen, we know how the people who are in West Bank were living in the, Israel controls their electricity, their water, their supplies, everything. And to live, they have cameras all around that place. They have fence around it. And it's like the life that even they were living in their own land was not really freedom.
No, I was watching a clip of 60 Minutes. I don't think it wasn't recent, but the segment was on Palestine, and they went to a family's door. They knocked on the door. They opened the door, and they said, "I can't talk because the army is sitting inside our house."
Oh my God!
And this is public. This was on TikTok or on Instagram. I saw this, and I'm just saying that occupation.
Yeah.
To have somebody take your land, your home, your children, your hospital, and ask you to flee your own place,
it's so wrong. And of course it's going to create anger, right? And the people whose house you are taking, or the people whose land you are taking. But the Palestinians, they're so resilient, and always saying Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah. And I
Their
just,
faith, their
their
faith
faith is,
is so strong, and
yeah,
they their will and determination, and they will rise. When, how, I don't know, but they need our support to, and our voices to speak for them,
yeah,
and have
yes,
their determination and conviction. And I just, like you were saying, on social media, sometimes you see posts and you just can't unsee them.
absolutely.
And so I don't know how humanity can justify. Like, I've posted a lot on Instagram, and in my stories, I've gotten feedback, release the hostages. Well, clearly today it's not about the hostages, because
Exactly.
if they really mattered, they would have done less bombing at least.
Exactly. Or some sort of negotiations, because Hamas was saying, you stop, you ceasefire, we will give you the hostages back.
Yeah.
The Israeli government refused to take that negotiation. So when Osama bin Laden was killed in Pakistan, the US sent special forces to kill it. They didn't bomb out the entire country. There's other
Right.
ways of doing it. What if this terrorist organization or these hostages were in Manhattan? Would you bomb out Manhattan? No, because do their lives matter more than the Palestinians' lives? It's just the argument the argument in itself is Hippocratic, right? And I can't believe the people in power can stand and say and just make this argument.
It's
Is
a narrative. It's a
Yeah,
narrative. And the narrative is false.
yeah,
The narrative is false, but because there has been a lot of work to create this narrative.
yeah,
And, if you follow some of the people like Chomsky, I think his name is, he's a professor, and he talks about the history, and he talks about the facts. And when you look at the facts, everything that everything that we're seeing right now is like a replica of the Holocaust.
exactly. It
And the
is.
sad part is, the people who experienced the Holocaust are the ones who are doing this. And
Yes.
sadly, let me just say, people of Palestine were
Mhm.
not the enemy at that time. This discredit goes to Great Britain
Yeah,
for colonialization. How
yeah.
come we can't have a two-state solution?
I know. Yeah,
And
exactly.
equally divided, not 78-22, I believe the
And
ratio is.
also, yeah, not given in a way where you can control all their resources and everything. And the fact that you said about the colonialism, like Palestinians were the ones who actually took in the Jewish refugees when Germany was doing the Holocaust, and so they actually helped them. And now in return, they are facing, it's a Holocaust. Yes, I like to call it is a Holocaust. It's a genocide, and we use the words that were used that actually portray it. And I think the other thing is that, how you said in one of our episodes, the person who went through narcissism because somebody was a narcissist actually becomes a
The
narcissist.
abused becomes the abuser.
Yes.
The abused becomes the abuser. See, we use these terms on a small scale, and everyone's ready to call the abuser, to call out the
Yeah.
narcissist, to call out the bully. Like, if this was happening to your child in a school, and someone did this in a school, it would be wrong.
Yeah.
And it's just so, I'm at a loss for words sometimes. I have so much to say, and I just stop.
Yeah. We might get lots of hate for doing this too, for sending out this message, but it is what it is. We even say a lot of things about our desi culture in some of our episodes, but like we said, we say it with love, and we are saying this with love too. That we
Let
want
me
love
just
for
tell you,
everyone.
our
Mhm.
Desi culture is so much more ahead after today, after this
Yeah.
event. We are so far ahead than the
Yes.
Western culture that's been beating up this Eastern culture. And in many ways, there are lots of things that we have to reinvent. And those things that we're talking about reinventing are existing in the Western culture. And here's my flag. I don't know if anyone
I
can
can see it. Yeah, now I see a little bit. It's very nice.
there you
It's
go. Here's
awesome.
my flag. And everyone, I am just inviting all of you to go out to the rallies, to go out and protest for humanity. Go reach out to your members of parliament and members of Congress and members of the Senate. Tell them what you think. And so in France announced today that they have openly declared that it's time for a ceasefire. Our local
Yes.
governing body also are on a provincial level. They're now speaking about a ceasefire. I think if we all start talking about ceasefire, not humanitarian pauses. What the hell is a humanitarian pause? Oh, by the
Seriously.
way, you can only kill people
In this period of
in
time.
these hours, or you can only not kill people actually for 4 hours.
And let's
Humanitarian
give them let's give them
indecency.
some band-aids and stuff so you fix them up so that way you can bomb them again.
We can kill them again. Yeah. So we can torture them. This is torture.
But even the humanitarian pause is they bombed all the hospitals. So the humanitarian pause is really just to the sick and the injured cannot stay because there's no hospital anymore. They have to leave. So even the
Yes.
humanitarian pause is in a way to make them move past northern Gaza into southern Gaza.
Yep. And I want to say that I've been following this, I don't think I express myself well at all when it comes to this topic. I'm still trying to find the words. There's so much information that I've taken in. I don't know
Yeah.
how to put it together and express myself. But I've been watching, I rarely watch CNN. I only watch CNN when I watch most of my news on YouTube or not on network television, just because I think it's so biased that there's no point. And so I was watching one CNN segment with a nurse who was a part of Doctors Without Borders, and I'm going to ask everyone to listen to those people who are actually there, so that you can hear from people who are physically present in those situations. Yes. If I could go, I would go to Palestine right now.
I know, me too.
I would,
and well, people who will hear these people and they're not Muslims, their skin color is white, maybe their message is gonna hit home more because they're not Muslims, they're not speaking about religion or anything like that, they're just talking about humanity, and they're speaking out of that.
I might be brown, I might be born Muslim, but I'm not the poster child of Islam. I'm not the poster child of but this is not about religion for me.
It's not about religion at all. It's not. And so the message that I would like to give out is, like you were saying, Rabia, people, please continue what you're doing. I think people versus power, that's what it's about. And what we have done so far is actually has made a difference. Our voices do count. And in history, like South Africa got freedom they got liberation only from doing the boycotts, by doing the protests and not giving up. It took them years. Nelson Mandela was in jail for 26 years. And finally, and it's sad that it takes this long for our voices to get heard, but we got to do our part, and the people have power.
Yeah, absolutely. This is people versus power, and people will prevail. We just have to show up.
Yeah.
Stand up to the bullies, stand up because they're powerless without us. And let's stop voting for the bullies. Let's stop supporting them. Let's shut it down, because I totally believe in shutting it down. Hashtag shut it down. Hashtag ceasefire. Hashtag humanity.
Yes. Don't stop talking about Palestine. Please don't stop talking. We cannot shut down what happened to them.
And we're going to put a link. There are 2 charities right now that are sending money to Palestine. There are 2 charities, and we'll put the link in our description so that we can start helping those lives that have been, God, I can't even imagine how they've been impacted. We in our, there's no comparison into what we go through and what they are going through. There's no comparison, but we have to do our part. And tomorrow I'm going to be at a march, Toronto for Palestine. It's at Nathan Phillips Square. And so I think we all need to go and make
Yes.
our voices heard and stand up for humanity and justice and what's right. Because
Yes.
the best thing to do is stand up to power and tell them what's right, because they don't always know.
Yes, and they're acting on their biases, they're taking sides, whatever relationships they have, deep ties they have, all these people in power, whatever they're doing, they actually are our employees, right? The people in power, we
They
appoint them,
serve
they work
us.
on our tax
Yes.
dollars, they serve us. So how can they not listen to us? And they're not listening to us. But we have to make the stop. We have to continue boycotting, raising our voices, and going to protests.
Yeah. And so I'm inviting my fellow Muslims, because we need to be stronger lobbyists. We need to be more involved in politics. We need to be more involved in our communities. We need to start having a stronger voice.
Yeah.
And what would you do if someone came into your home and told you that you can't move, that you can't do anything? What would you do?
Yeah.
Because we heard this from the other side. What would you do? Well,
Absolutely.
what would you do if your homes were invaded, where your living is invaded,
Yeah.
and you don't have any rights, and you can't have a passport,
Yeah.
and if you leave, you can never come back? What would you do
Yeah.
if you can't stand up for that?
It's so wrong. It's so wrong. I really, really hope that if we're going to take a few days to post this episode, there's a ceasefire. I hope this stops at this second. It's just so much devastation and loss of innocent lives. And so ceasefire, please, to the my prayer for to God and to the people in power.
I'm calling on all people,
Mm-hmm.
including people of influence, celebrities, people who are afraid to speak up. I'm
Yes.
calling all of them to speak up, to
Yeah.
do something for the innocent lives that have been taken as collateral damage.
Yeah.
As collateral damage. How would you like to be called collateral damage?
Yeah. Human lives should not be collateral damage at any time. Children's lives should not be collateral damage between anything. And there's no justification, absolutely no justification for that.
So Sana, what's the call to action? Because I think we should leave everyone with a call to action.
Yeah, the call to action is to see this is people versus power, and that everyone has a voice. So please continue to do what you're doing, even after a ceasefire. Do not stop, because we need to hold these people accountable. There was war crimes done, which is evident. There is proof for it. The phosphorus used, the bombs, hospital, all of it. There is actual proof of it, and we want accountability. And we need to stand up for it, not just now, for a long period of time until we get what we want.
Absolutely. We must hold our elected leaders accountable
Yes.
for being in breach of humanitarian laws, for in breach of war laws, for perpetuating all the things that many before us, Nelson Mandela, and the Black Lives Matter movement, the women's rights movement, we have to continue in the legacy. The hard way is the right way.
Yeah, you're right. Resistance.
The hard
Even though
way
it's
is the right way, and peacefully done. Million people on the streets of England, on the streets of London, I believe, and they said it was the most peaceful march they had seen.
so nice. Yeah, and it's the biggest in the
Million
history of
people.
the UK. Yeah,
Yep. Yep.
amazing. And so people, I am so, so proud of people, the non-Muslims, the Jews. It doesn't matter what religion, what color, wherever you are. So that's our message, is peace and humanity.
Yes, exactly. If you have a heart, let's humans for human beings, and let's make this world a better place so that we can say that we're proud of ourselves for
Yeah,
making a difference. I felt so good to be at a march last week. It felt so good to be a part of the change that we wish
yeah,
to see.
yeah,
Gandhi's famous lines, be the change you wish to see, and don't just talk, take action. Get out there, go to the marches, show your support, donate to the people that need, not the people that are killing them.
Absolutely. Exactly.
And shut it down. Let's call for a ceasefire. Let's get involved and do our part, because each of us can make a huge difference.
Yeah. Well, Rabia, I really hope that we can make even a tiny bit of difference doing this. So
I hope so. I hope we can put a small dent in this huge problem. And so, Sana, I think it's that time of our episode.
Yes. Sadly, in a sad way.
And thank you, everyone. Please continue to support us. And we know that haters will hate, and it's okay, because we know we're on the right side of history.
Yes.
And we want to make this difference. So,
absolutely. Thank you so much for listening.
Thanks so much for listening. So it's that time of our episode.
We're two Desi girls.
Reinventing cultural norms.
With love.
With love.
Bye-bye.
See you next time. Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed today's episode.
Please rate, subscribe, and review wherever you listen to podcasts, and follow the Rabia and Sana Show on social medias.
Remember, you can watch the video version on YouTube, and don't forget to share, like, and subscribe.
If you want life coaching services, or you are reinventing cultural norms for yourself and think you would be a great guest and want to be on our show, please email contact@therabiaandsanashow.com.
And be sure to check out our next episode. See you next time.
See you next time.